welcome once again to our show that is called Real Shame. It's a show where we two guys in front of you, or maybe behind you if someone's surprising you with a laptop, watch movies from our movie list of shame or movie blind spots. They're basically movies that we should have seen, somehow missed us, but we're rectifying that by watching for that and telling you all about our first impressions of it. And that's pretty much the whole show, but we shortened it to Real Shame. I'm one of your hosts, Adam, the guy on the right.
I'm Andy.
The guy on the left.
The guy on the left.
I like our comments was like the guy on the right doesn't know what he's talking about, and I have to yes, that's funny. I'm like, my right or you're right. I don't even know what I'm talking about. This week we're watching some movies that I have never seen, and to kick it all off, Andy's going to tell you about the first one.
A young woman living in France seeks to better the lives of those around her. But what about her own happiness? The happiness of a young girl named Amelie.
Nous sommes le 29 août. Dans 48 heures, le destin d'Amélie Poulain va basculer. Mais ça, pour le moment, elle n'en sait rien. Pour elle, la vie tranquille suit son cours parmi ses collègues et les habitués du café.
So Amelie came out in 2001. It's directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. He directed movies like The City of Lost Children and Alien Resurrection, weirdly enough.
All those movies fit in the same bucket.
Yeah. Well, I think they both have Ron Perlman, right?
So, there you go.
Ron Perlman is not in Amelie, but I feel like he's in several other Jean-Pierre Jeunet films. It's written by Guillaume Laurent. I believe he and Jean-Pierre Jeunet both came up with the story for it, but I think the screenplay is just credited to Guillaume Laurent. It stars Audrey Tautou as Amélie Poulain. By the way, the actual French title is like The Fabulous Destiny of Amélie Poulain, but they shortened it to Amélie for American audiences, so her last name is Amélie Poulain. Her father is played by Jacques Narcy, but apparently his stage name is Rufus. Not Rufus and Shaka Khan, but just Rufus. He plays Raphael Poulain. Dominique Pinon plays Joseph. Matthew Kassovitz plays Nino Concampois. Matthew Kassovitz is an actor and also a director. He actually directed a film called La Haine or Hate, which came out in the mid-90s, which was super critically acclaimed and is in the Criterion Collection. He went on to do other movies like another notable one I saw was a movie that he did with the Professional, whose name escapes me right now.
Professional?
Yeah, he didn't do that movie, but Jean Reno.
Jean Reno, yeah.
He did The Crimson Rivers with Jean Reno and Vincent Cassel. Serge Merlin plays Raymond Dufayel, and Maurice Bénichou has a small part as Dominique Breteau. Maurice Bénichou I've seen in some Michael Haneke films, particularly the film Cachet.
Michael Haneke, who hates his audience?
Michael Haneke, who hates his audience, yes. And Cachet, Maurice Bénichou's part in that, he has a very shocking scene, as I recall. But he's barely in this movie. All right, so this is a movie that I've seen several times. I saw it in the theater when it came out in 2001, and I've seen it several times since then. But this is a movie that you have never seen.
Never seen. I think I got this movie confused with like Chocolat for the longest time.
That's
because they're both like foreign movies, and
yeah.
You know, I'm one of them uneducated folks, so I'm like, these foreign movies are all the same.
Yeah, so Chocolat, it does have Johnny Depp in it,
yeah,
as I recall, but it has Julie Delpy, maybe? No, that doesn't have Julie Delpy. It has, oh my God, what's her name? It has another French actress whose name escapes me, and I'm not going to look it up. It's not.
They'll come to you in a second.
Yeah, it's not Julie Delpy.
Julie Taymor.
Anyway, yeah, but they came out similar time frame.
Yeah.
But I know you've heard of Amelie before, even though you conflated it with Chocolat.
I did.
Do you know anybody that's seen Amelie before? I mean, I can't say anything like, well, okay. Have you seen these people in other movies? You've seen Audrey Tautou in the Da Vinci Code sequel.
Yeah.
Or no, she's in Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, I think she is.
Yeah, that's her with in the first one. Yeah. So.
I will say Kirby was telling me for her film studies class that there's an option to choose two different movies to write about. It was Amelie, and I forgot what the name of the other movie was. And all the women chose Amelie, and Kirby did not choose Amelie. And it was a heavily female registered class,
Uh-huh.
a lot of female students in the class. So the professor was very glad to get her a paper which was not about Amelie.
Okay.
She told me so. Kirby's seen Amelie and you've seen Amelie, but I don't think a lot of people I know have seen Amelie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about the plot of Amelie?
No, I didn't actually.
Okay. So you're going into it,
And it took me,
fairly blind.
and yeah, I think it took a while for you to understand what the plot was in the movie Amelie too.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So lay it on me. What did you think of Amelie?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this movie, Amelie. So I kind of watched the movies this week in reverse order. I watched the first one, or I watched the movie we were talking about Wednesday first,
Uh-huh.
and I watched this movie second, because that was like release order.
Uh-huh.
And I was trying to figure out how these movies tied into each other, which I think probably wasn't the best way to get into this movie, but that was just one of those little threads that was going on.
Uh-huh.
There are things I like about this movie. There's things I wish this movie did more of, and there's things I did not like about this movie. So, I like the mystery that's kind of in the last third of the movie, like the photo booth mystery, the guy of the photo booth.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I really, and as I say with these kind of movies, this kind of movie, I wish the movie was more about that. And I wish they used that as the backbone to tell the story versus, it's really just kind of her life, kind of more of a pastiche about her. And then we kind of stumble into this thing, mostly because there's a young man that she likes and that, it kind of ties into that. So I wish that the photo booth mystery, the mystery of the guy's picture in the photo booth was more front and center. The movie establishes in the beginning that she has this imagination, right? And we see like these animals from her youth come together and like act out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really excited when I saw that because I was hoping for a more like Michel Gondry, like, oh, this is going to be a fantastical telling of her life. And we're going to see a lot of fantastical elements and all that. And we really don't. It kind of, no, we don't really, she doesn't really imagine. There's a couple of things where she's like imagining talking to, what was she talking to where she was talking about the guy? Was it, I want to say it was a mouse. It wasn't a mouse. So there is some of that, but I wish the movie was like jam-packed with more fantasy and these imaginary creatures and all that. And it really kind of subsides after introducing that in the movie. The thing, so that's kind of where it kind of leaves me cold. The other thing is I those introductions were kind of fun and cutesy and whimsical in the beginning, but once we started getting to because of how they introduced her, like parents and her, and like they introduced, was it a fly or whatever, or the bug in the very beginning, I thought was cool. But when we got to the diner where she worked and it started doing those introductions again, I'm like, okay, well, we're past this. I don't need this anymore. Like, this is not as fun and whimsical. So I like there's aspects I like to it. I like the coloring of it. It's like very gorgeous, very like Umbrellas of Cherbourg kind of colors. Like they focus on like three primary colors throughout the whole movie. Actually, green's one of the colors, so it's not primary. They focus on three major colors throughout the whole movie, and I think that's interesting. And I like the way Paris or France that they live in is rendered and all that. And I thought the performances were pretty good, and the movie takes some unexpected turns. But I really wish that had a more strong plot rather than this kind of pastiche of her life and all that. So I'm kind of torn. There's some, it's a mixed bag for me. There's some good things in it that I really liked and I sunk my teeth into, and there's some other things that I'm like, I wish this was tweaked or changed more to my liking. So overall, I'm glad I watched it, but a little bit of a mixed bag for me, if any of that makes sense at all. It does. Yeah. So you said, so that's kind of my overall thoughts on it. You said you've seen this movie a handful of times.
Several times, yeah.
Several times.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that means you like it. Why don't you tell us about the first time you saw Amelie, and then why don't you tell us about your thoughts on it now?
Yeah, this is one of those movies that I remember it came out, and I I think over here it was distributed by Miramax, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that seems right.
Something like that. But it it started getting buzz. It started getting, again, it came out. I think the date I wrote down because it's April 2001. That's probably the France release
Hmm.
date. I don't remember exactly when it came out here when it landed in the States, but it was starting to get buzz. Not necessarily Oscar buzz, just one of those. I mean, we all know nowadays it's not as much of a thing, but back then, and I think we said this when we talked about like Waking the Divine
Yeah,
movies.
a
We
full
we
Monty.
didn't get Full Monty is a great example. We
Yeah,
didn't get a ton of imports from other countries, but when we did get an import from another country, you knew it was a big
yeah,
deal. You
yeah,
knew
yeah.
it was going to be, a big moneymaker or whatever, a critical favorite, something like that, or both. So I think Amelie started getting kind of both of those things. It started getting a lot of accolades, and it started getting just buzz from people that had seen it. So I went and saw it. I probably came to Dallas to see it. I didn't live in the Dallas area at the time, but I probably came to Dallas to see it. I believe I did, in fact. But I thought the movie was wonderful because it was really. I'm not sure I'd seen City of Lost Children at that time. Maybe I had, but I mean, I've definitely seen it since, and I feel like I've seen I've seen Alien Resurrection, although I
Yeah.
don't necessarily lump that in with Jean-Pierre Jeunet's other films. But I definitely now am more familiar with his style and the kinds of movies that he likes to make. But at the
Hmm.
time, I don't think that I was as familiar with his style, probably because I hadn't seen much that he had done, if anything. Um, but I thought it was just a really cute movie. I think Audrey Tautou is adorable in the film
Yeah.
as Amelie. I mean, she's absolutely, it's such a winning role, and just so fun. She's so cute and adorable in this film. I I I think one thing that really sells this movie for me is the musical score by Jan Tiersen. It's a fantastic score. I mean, I feel like it adds so much to this
And it
film,
was
but
their
it's
first time working together too, because I remember reading
oh
that
yeah.
his go to composer couldn't make it or couldn't do something, had a conflict, and
Uh,
so he went to this guy and had him do it
Well, it worked out to
Yeah.
me. I think it's a great score. I don't think yeah, no, it was not nominated for an Academy Award, but I feel like it should have been. But I really like that, and I just like the quirkiness of it.
Hmm.
Um, my favorite scene in the entire film, and it always really gets me, it always kind of chokes me up, is whenever she finds the little shoebox and she's
Oh yeah,
determined to bring it to the guy whose it was, and he goes to the
at the
phone
phone
booth
booth. Yeah,
and he gets it. I think that's a very touching scene, and I mean, I'm being serious. It really does choke me up every time I see it because it's so sad,
yeah,
but it's so happy at the same time because he's reunited because he makes a comment about how he's 50 or whatever,
yeah,
50ish, and so he hasn't seen this thing in like 40 years at least. And he finds this thing randomly. He hears a phone
yeah,
ringing, and he goes and he finds the shoebox. I almost wish there were more moments like that in the film
yeah.
where she brings artifacts or something. But I mean,
I f-
realistically, what's she gonna do? Go around hunting for old
yeah,
artifacts that people? She just
she could
happens on
have.
that by chance.
Yeah, and again, this is where I'm with you on that because I like that scene.
Yeah,
But it's also two things with that. One is I'm with you. I wish this whole movie was like that, and they could have easily done it with the guy she liked. Like instead of her
yeah,
chasing after him and dropping his photo book, it could have been more of a mystery with that.
yeah,
And the other thing is it makes the movie feel really episodic
yeah,
because it's kind of like her childhood. Then it's like she found this box,
yeah,
and then she's trying to put her coworkers together, and then
yeah.
she's doing this. Like I wish it was just one idea across the whole movie. But sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, not at all. But as far as it goes, I mean, I still enjoy this movie. I've seen it again. I've seen it several times since I originally saw it in 2001. I still enjoy this movie. It doesn't have quite the same magic as it did for me the first couple of times I
Hmm.
probably saw it, and maybe that's just me being older and more cynical or whatever.
Yeah.
But I still enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I still think that it's a quirky film because obviously it's very quirky. It's a very French film, but it's a very adorable and cute film. One big complaint I have with it now that I haven't had in past viewings is I feel like it's too long. I feel like there's some stuff in there that they could cut out.
Yeah.
And I feel like any scenes that don't really directly deal with Amelie could be chopped. And among those would be I like the glass man, as they call him, the
Mm-hmm.
Raymond Dufayel character. He lives in her apartment building, and she befriends him, and she sends him those little funny videotapes that
Yeah.
have random
Yeah.
things on them. But there's some scenes where he's like teaching the one
How
character
to
to
paint.
paint,
Yeah.
which aren't that's not needed at all. Like
Yeah,
I mean, it's cool, that they're he's becoming friends with that guy and he's teaching him how to paint, but it really has nothing to do with the story.
Yeah.
So I feel like they could cut that kind of stuff out.
It would have been better, and correct me, you've seen this before more times than I have, so I could have missed it.
Yeah.
But it would have been better if Amelie paired them together. Like he's a glass man. He could be fragile, doesn't want to get out, can't make friends, is lonely, and then she makes them. She knows he's a painter. Maybe this guy wants to paint.
Yeah.
She pairs them together, right?
Yeah, because she doesn't really in the movie. No, you're right.
Yeah.
She doesn't. He just delivers groceries.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he happens to deliver groceries into that same building.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It would be better if that was the cause of them kind of coming together. I like the stuff because this is a movie, and this is why I chose what to pair with it on Wednesday. I don't think it made a great pairing. It was better in my mind.
I think so. But go on.
I like how in this film, most of the time she's nice, but there are times where she, like the one grocer guy who's mean to the other guy.
Yeah, she's like
she
she's
gets
like
she gets a key to his apartment, and she like puts a size smaller shoe,
Yeah.
and he almost electrocutes. I mean, well, not
she's
just like a
gaslighting the
pin.
fool.
She is gaslighting him.
Yeah.
That's totally what she's doing. She reprograms his like speed dial and all kinds of stuff like that. And then I like it when she's a little girl and the guy has a car accident and he tries to tell her it's her fault for taking pictures, and she listens to him watching the soccer game, and she unplugs his TV. Every time there's about to score a goal, she unplugs his TV. I find that kind of stuff hilarious. But
When
yeah,
she
I think.
was-
Oh, go ahead.
When
Sorry.
she was a little girl, it reminded me of that meme that goes around of the girl staring at the camera with the building on fire behind her.
Yeah.
It looked just
Yeah.
like that. Like that's what that reminded me of.
Yeah. No, but this movie, again, length aside, I feel like they could cut some stuff out. But I do like the phone booth kind of mystery thing. That's fun. But it's like she has opportunities to meet the Matthew Kassovitz character. She invites him to come to the two windmills where she works, and she wants to talk to him, but she's too shy.
Yeah.
And he's like sitting in the booth. And he turns around and she starts writing today's menu or whatever, and he's like, "This is you, right? With the Zorro costume. This is you." And she's like, "No, whatever." And so it's like the whole movie. You're like, "No, just say something. Just say something," because she's such a great character. You want her to be happy. You want her to find true love and all that stuff. And then at the end. When they finally do get together, it's like you almost feel like they're about to miss each other again.
Yeah.
And then she looks and sees he's gone or whatever outside the window, and she like runs to the door and opens it, and there he is.
Yeah.
It's for me again. I the best way I can describe this movie, I just think it's cute. It's a cute little adorable kind of film. So that's where I fall on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I kind of there's things that what do you think about the cinematography? Like all the how colorful and how bathed in color different sets are in places.
I think it's great. This movie, the camera moves a lot. There's a lot of sweeping shot. There's a lot of kind of crane shots where it starts here and it goes down here where she's skipping stones across the water. It starts maybe above her and it comes all the way down, and then you see it. The stone skips right past the camera. There's a lot of Dutch angles in it, which I'm not crazy about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that kind of stuff, but they're so quick. It's not like it does it for a long time where it's slanted, but it's like it'll be just a few seconds and it'll cut, and I'm like, I don't really need those. But it's probably just because I've seen so many movies with Dutch angles since I've seen this, so it's maybe unfair. But no, I think the cinematography is great. I think the colors are great. I don't notice them as much. But the music for me is like
what stands out.
Really, really stands out. Yeah, nice. I love the score.
Well, speaking of music, it looks like in your notes there's an adaptation. Why don't you talk about that?
I wasn't aware. Apparently, it was adapted into a musical. I think it actually premiered in 2015.
Oh wow!
So about 14 years after this. Yeah, but I never heard of it. I suppose I should probably go on YouTube or something and try and find some scenes from the musical, some numbers from the musical, because I would have no idea what they're singing about. But yeah, I didn't know that. So that's interesting. It actually did get some nominations at the Academy Awards, and I watched the Academy Awards back then, but I don't even remember it being nominated.
Yeah.
But probably because it didn't win a single thing. It got nominated for Best Foreign Language Film, but it lost to No Man's Land, which I have not seen. Original Screenplay, but it lost to Gosford Park, the Robert Altman film. Art Direction, but it lost to Moulin Rouge with Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. Got nominated for Cinematography, but it lost to Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, the first one, The Fellowship of the Ring. And it got nominated for Best Sound, but it lost to Black Hawk Down.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember Lord of the Rings cinematography being that outstanding, but maybe that was because of trying to shoot that forced perspective with the Wizard and the Hobbits, and they got for that.
Yeah. I wish I kind of knew what the other nominees were that year, but yeah. But Amelie nevertheless walked away with a big old fat goose egg that year. It
won your heart.
Yeah. I again, maybe don't enjoy it quite as much as I enjoyed it back in 2001, but I do still like the film overall. I think it's a nice little cute little film. It is 89% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 95% audience. Roger Ebert gave it thumbs up, and Leonard Maltin, ecstatic about Amelie, gave it 3.5 stars.
Wow.
He's all about Amelie.
All right. Well, that's Amelie. You said that you paired it with another movie that you don't think was that successful pairing. I do. I think it's two movies about people getting their noses in other people's businesses, and whether that's for good or bad.
Well, that's why I paired it with what I paired it with. But I thought they were more similar.
Yeah.
Obviously, than they are, even though they take place in completely different centuries. But yeah, before we get to that though.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
We're gonna talk about what we've been watching.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Do you know what you've been watching? Do you need to look it up? Do
No,
I need to go
I have
first?
it in my notes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Ooh, I just cut that whole stuff out.
No, it's all right.
I wanted to end this episode early.
We do these things. We record these things all in one take.
Yeah.
So.
What I've been watching. I think I might have shared this with you. Rolling Stones came out with a list recently of the best songs from fictional bands and movies.
Yeah.
And I think they did that because like Daisy Jones and the Six came out and all that kind of stuff. So I was going through the list, and one of the movies on the list was the movie I really like, and I haven't seen in a while. So I was like, I'm going to check this movie back out again. And that is Josie and the Pussycats. Have you seen the Rachel E. Cook vehicle, Josie and the Pussycats?
I don't think I have, honestly.
This movie is good. And the fun thing about this movie is it's really, really, really subversive. Because it knew it could have been like a pop, a nothingness, like an empty calorie kind of movie very easily, because it's, adapted from the comic books, and there was also a cartoon of it, and it could have been just a big nothing. But the screenwriters, who I believe are also the directors, decided to take something and be subversive and actually really comment on pop culture with it. And the few people that I've showed this movie to, they're like, really, Josie and the Pussycats? I'm like, yes, watch it. They really like it because of that.
You converted them.
I convert them because this movie is just so subversive. This movie has some banger songs in it. They have a boy band called Du Jour in it that has a couple of funny actors in it. And their song is called Backdoor Lover, which is hilarious for a boy band.
Okay.
There's a euphemism there, but it's real. The song's about someone coming to someone's physical backdoor, not what the euphemism is.
Okay.
But that's hilarious, I believe.
Yeah.
And then the songs that they wrote for Josie and the Pussycats, Three Small Words, Spin Around, all that stuff are really good. I had the soundtrack at one point in time. I don't think I have it anymore. But it's all great, all good to listen to. Rolling Stones only included one song from this movie. I think that's wrong. They should include two, the Du Jour song and the one songs from Josie and the Pussycats. So it's very cool, very awesome. I think worth checking out if you haven't. Maybe we'll put it on your list at some point if you wait too long to see it.
That's fine. So I gotta ask, do you know were the songs in the movie written by anyone well known? Like sometimes, like
Yeah.
the movie Rock Band with Mark Wahlberg. I think a lot of the songs were written by the guy from Third Eye Blind, or at
Yeah.
least co-written. Were any of these written by like a famous pop star or anything? Do you know?
It's been a while since I've seen the behind the scenes of it, and I do believe it was written by some well-renowned songwriters.
Mm,
It's not like a Scott Pilgrim where you have like metric writing songs in different bands.
mm,
I do think there are more people like behind the scenes that you wouldn't notice as a band.
okay.
But yeah, they did get some people that could write songs to write the songs, and they wrote good
Okay.
songs.
Interesting. Well, Josie and the Pussycats was an animated cartoon, as you said.
Yeah.
There was also Josie and the Pussycats in outer space. So I feel like if they ever did a sequel to Josie and the Pussycats,
Oh, that'd be so cool.
they should do Josie and the Pussycats in
I
outer
don't-
space live action.
I mean, the problem is it's Rachel E. Cook, Tara Reid, and
Rosario Dawson. Right?
Rosario Dawson. I think of those three, Rosario Dawson's the only person acting these days. I mean, what's Rachel E. Cook done? lately?
She is still acting, but just not nearly as high
Yeah.
profile as Rosario Dawson. She ain't doing Star Wars like
Yeah.
Rosario Dawson.
And then
so,
Tara Reid's kind of had some stuff in her
yeah.
life.
Yeah, they would need to
Recast.
reboot the cast. Yeah.
The other cool thing is that's fun. It's a little meta in this movie. Is that there's a part with Carson Daly and Tara Reid, and a scene with them,
Uh-huh.
and they were dating at the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun reading some meta stuff on that scene too. But it also
And that
has
takes me back.
Yeah, it takes you back. It also has a not Piper Paraboo. Well, it has some. Has Alan Cummings in it,
Yeah.
and it has Parker Posey in it too, which are a lot of fun.
Alan Cummings in the movie we're going to talk about on Wednesday.
Yeah. So that's what I've been watching. Josie and the Pussycats. Hard recommend for me for everyone. Check it out if you haven't. What about you? What have you been watching?
I watched a movie that you already watched, and you actually talked about it on Real Shame. I don't remember when, but it's been a little, I don't know, a few months ago, something. It's Ambulance. The Michael Bay movie
Ambulance.
with Jake Gyllenhaal and those guys.
Yaya.
Mateen?
Yeah.
No. Is that right?
No.
No. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal's the only name I can remember. Sorry. And some other people. This is another movie. I feel like last week I talked about movies that I watched on Amazon Prime. This is also on Amazon Prime. So I watched it on Amazon Prime Video. When you watch Michael Bay movies, you know what to expect.
Yep.
And I think your tolerance, well, I mean, obviously if you love what Michael Bay does, you probably love his films. If you're like me, and you can sort of tolerate what he does, I think your tolerance depends on how long the film is. Like, for example, I think Bad Boys is good. I'm not even going to get into despite what I feel about Will Smith these days. But Bad Boys I feel like is good. Bad Boys 2, which I know everybody loves, it goes on for freaking ever. It goes on for like an hour too long.
Yeah, it has
if they
two
cut it
plots
down,
in it.
yeah, it's just got way too much in it. If they cut it down, I feel like it would be so much better, and I probably would like it maybe more than the first film, but I don't as it stands. Ambulance is just too much. It just went on and on and on and on forever. And you know, I mean, forget the fact that I'm not buying that this ambulance is doing all the things that it's doing in the film. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have to suspend my disbelief some, but I just don't feel like the movie itself is shot in such a way that I could even tell what was going on half the time. Like,
It's very kinetic.
I
or
think
chaotic.
I think about a recent movie that I actually happen to be a big fan of, which is Baby Driver. I feel like the car chase kind of sequences in that film are great, and they're filmed really well, and absolutely and it has that same girl that's in Baby Driver in Ambulance, but the car chases in that film and Baby Driver are so well done, as far as, again, you're fully aware of where the cars are and where the cars chasing them are, and in this it's just a big mess. It's like the ambulance is going and it's cutting over here and cutting over here and cutting over here, and I'm just like, where is everybody? Like, I don't even know how this is all working out, but it just goes on and on and on, and overall, I did not particularly care for it. I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, I think I liked it more than you did, but I do think Michael Bay needs to be reined in a little bit. He's just when he's left to his own devices, he just goes too crazy, too chaotic, and all that. I don't know if you saw Six Underground, but I could
I
only
did
get
not.
through
I did
20
not.
minutes of that movie. That movie was Michael Bay on cocaine.
Michael
felt
Bay
like.
took like a bunch of Michael Bay pills.
He did. He took like some Monster and washed it down with like Monster Energy and just
Yeah.
went. "Ah!"
Let's do this.
So I think this movie's a little bit more tame. What do you think about the drone footage? With the camera like zipping around and flying under cars and all that.
I mean, it's interesting. I don't have anything against it, but it didn't make or break anything for me. It didn't really do much for me. I mean, again, I don't think it was bad or good. I'm just kind of indifferent to it.
Well, we have to check out the movie it's adapted from. I think it was
Yeah, it's like a Dutch
Scandinavian,
film.
Dutch or
Yeah, it's
something
like
like
a
that.
Dutch film. Yeah,
Let's check that out.
I would like to check that out, actually. It's probably better.
Yeah.
The other film I'm going to mention is actually a film that I just watched very recently
Oh.
called Undead.
Oh no.
It's an Australian film. It's an Australian zombie film, as you can garner from the title, Undead. An Australian zombie film that
Undead.
I didn't know anything really about it other than it was a zombie film. But apparently, so it's directed by a pair of brothers, the Spierig brothers. I hope I'm saying their name correctly. But I guess, Undead was got so much sort of notice and acclaim and whatnot that they eventually started making films over here in the States. And they made Daybreakers with Ethan Hawke, the vampire movie.
Oh.
They made Predestination with Ethan Hawke, which I watched recently.
Yeah.
And when I watched Undead, I wasn't even aware it was the same
Do
guys.
they only make Ethan Hawke movies in the States?
They don't, but they apparently only make movies with a one-word title because
Okay.
their film after Predestination was Jigsaw.
Okay.
In that franchise, and then finally Winchester with Helen Mirren.
Yeah, so that's 5 movies.
Yeah,
That are
they all have
those.
one-word
There you
titles, and out of all those, I've only seen Predestination, and I just watched that a few weeks ago. I thought Undead was good. I mean, it's fun. The special effects, I read at least in the IMDb trivia that were done by them. They did everything. They wrote it, they directed it, they produced it, they edited it. I don't know, they did the soundtrack, but they did the special effects for it, and it took them a while to accomplish the special effects. Are the special effects amazing? Absolutely not. But for this sort of film, they fit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just cheesy little cheap kind of CGI, but I give these guys credit for doing it like all by themselves, basically. I mean, that's pretty awesome. So you and I have always talked about our affinity for these kind of DIY filmmakers. You have to give them at least somewhat of a pass whenever they make these films, because it's hard work making these films. It's hard work to make a film, period. And I feel like going into that, watching it, a lot of the humor I didn't find particularly funny. I chuckled at a few things, so it's not really that kind of makes me recommend the movie overall. I would just say just kind of the DIY aesthetic of it, and it's fun enough. Like, it's got an interesting enough plot. It's pretty good for a 90-minute movie or whatever. I liked it, and again, obviously, it got them enough acclaim that they were able to come over and do movies over here in the States. Now, your mileage may vary definitely on those films.
Yeah.
Again, I can only comment on Predestination, but Winchester certainly did not look good. When we saw the preview for it, I kept laughing during the preview for it because it looked ridiculous. And again, I'm judging it. I'm judging a book by its cover, or a film by its trailer in this case. But anyway, I thought Undead was fun.
All right.
Pretty fun movie.
Well, cool. So that's what we've been watching. Undead and Ambulance and Josie and Pussycats for me.
Yes, sir.
All right, rewinding back. So you like you said earlier, you paired this movie with another movie you felt like it wasn't very successful. And I think it was, because I do see the connection about a lady meddling in people's lives. Yeah. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you decided to pair this movie with?
Yeah, that's basically it. I was trying to find a movie because, I mean, Amelie is very much there's movies that it has similarities to, but I was trying to find a movie where a young lady, is but like you said, kind of meddling in other people's lives or trying to make other people's lives better, with mixed results sometimes.
Yeah.
So I thought of the movie Emma, which came out in 1996, adapted from the Jane Austen novel and starring Gwyneth Paltrow as the titular Emma, because she definitely does try and meddle with other people's lives, specifically matchmaking with other people, but she does kind of meddle in other people's lives. So that was what I picked.
All right.
We will talk about that Wednesday.
Not the Anya Taylor-Joy Emma.
Not that one. Same source material, different film, though, yeah.
All right. Well, stay tuned for that. Please like, subscribe, share this show. It really helps, and we really do appreciate it. Let us know what you think about Amelie down in the comments, I guess is what they call them.
The comments down below.
If you're watching us on YouTube, down below, hit the subscribe button, tap that bell, do all that kind of stuff. We really do appreciate it. And stay tuned Wednesday when we find out if Emma has messed around with our lives well enough for us to like the movie or not.
Yes.
We'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one. Bye.